everybody. It's good to see you again. I'm not sure if I'm going to try to stand on this, but can everyone see me? Good? Okay. So, while that's turning on. So yeah, today's workshop is on strategies for sustaining the digital nomad lifestyle. There's so much talk on the internet and in our industry about how to become a digital nomad, and there's very little chatter about it, what happens a few years in. I think part of the reason for that is just that we're still new, and you guys are early adopters on the digital nomad curve. So there's just not as many people who have been doing it a really long time. And like Johnny was saying, a lot of people are financially stressed and they've run out of money, and then they don't really announce like, hey, I'm no longer a digital nomad anymore. They just kind of disappear. So, but not you guys. You're going to be doing this for a long time. So why am I qualified to tell you this? So I'm not going to talk too much about myself because this is going to be focused on you guys, and I want to make sure we have enough time for all the exercises. But I have basically spent half of my life in foreign countries working for myself. So my first time living abroad was when I was 20 years old, studying in Costa Rica. And then I was hooked, and I basically never came back to the U.S. full-time after that. My first job was as a real estate agent in Costa Rica in 2005, and then I started my own online company in 2011. So not only have I had to figure out how to sustain this for over 13 years, but I've also helped my friends, or we've helped each other, clients, colleagues, and then in my relocation company, I've helped over 1,000 people move to different countries, so I've had to figure out how to help people from all walks of life. If you were in the talk yesterday, so everyone from nomads to retirees to business people, on how to make this work, because I'm super passionate about helping people be able to do whatever they want. I think everyone should be able to live life the way that they want if they have that opportunity, and so that's just kind of my purpose for being here. So the goal of this workshop, if you're a new nomad, is to just start your journey with some foresight into what can happen years into the process so that you know what to expect and you're not caught off guard. If you're an experienced nomad, you probably relate to a lot of the content in this workshop, but I hope that you'll be able to learn a few new things that maybe you hadn't thought of yet, or maybe make some connections between some things that you've been thinking about or struggling with, and put that into a framework. And then for everybody to just have some sort of a system to fall back on when things aren't going so well, so that you can look back and be like, okay, where am I stuck? What types of activities can I do to get out of it? So a few things that on the negative side of the long-term location independence challenges, you see things like this. The most common thing I see is people saying, like, I'm ready to take the leap. And it's like, no, who would do that? Like, you don't want to just leap into this and hope it works out, because, especially without a parachute at all, which is what most people do. And they're like, I'll figure it out once I get out there. And, you know, you can succeed, and there are exceptions to every rule, but you don't have to do that. So how do you get from this overwhelm of like, I want to be a digital nomad, but what do I do? Or I'm already a digital nomad, but how do I keep doing this forever? Or how do I know when to stop? Or what do I do next? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So I think it's really important to look at the basics of human beings first, and just take a little look at the anthropology behind how we operate, because we're still the same nomadic creatures that we were like thousands and thousands of years ago. We just have new toys and new tools to be able to travel around the world and do whatever we want. So some of the things that we need as people, we need a tribe, community, some sort of roots, some sort of sense of belonging, either some family members or a partner, life partner, romantic partner, some sort of human interaction. I think there's definitely a reason why, like, the worst punishment in society is solitary confinement. Like, we want to be around other people. And then today, we, not just digital nomads, but all people are kind of living in the opposite of what we need to thrive. in general. So everybody in modern day society is dealing with the opposite. Instead of having like a tribe, like CJ, I think he's going to be in here, CJ? Anyway, he's so cool because he's part of the Seminole tribe. And, we don't have those types of tribes anymore unless you're, have that tradition in your family. So we've gone from living with our tribe to just basically living on our own. We've gone from having like a home and roots to being digital nomads who are basically homeless. We've gone from living near our families. Only 100 years ago, everybody lived and grew up and got married and stayed around where their families were. And now we just basically go wherever. Instead of having a sense of belonging, many of us don't really feel at home in our home countries, and we don't feel necessarily at home in our destination countries. So we start to lose this sense of belonging and national pride. And then a daily routine, as Johnny was saying, people show up places for 24 hours. It's very hard to maintain a daily routine when you're always in a different place. I would say impossible. So we also need things like physical activity, but now we all sit at the computer. So a sense of purpose, but that purpose is fleeting when maybe you're not working, you're just getting passive income, or maybe you're just doing a job to make money so you can be a nomad and you don't feel any connection to that job. We need to collaborate with people to feel really happy, but in our way of life, most of our communication can be virtual or not at all if you're a solopreneur. And we need financial security, but when you're responsible for everything, including that, then that can be a big source of stress. And then, of course, mental health and depression, I think that's pretty apparent right now in 2018 that this is like a global crisis that everyone's dealing with, and that becomes elevated even more when you're living a very solitary lifestyle as a nomad. So let's talk about just the main reasons why people fail, which I touched on a little bit yesterday in the talk. And it's basically running out of money, not being able to adapt once you get to the country, being lonely, and having a lack of clarity. This can be over where to live, what to do for work, what to do with your day, just a lack of clarity in general. So one of the things just to start out, that I'll give you guys 5 minutes for each activity. I think there's 3, but you can always take them home and do them more in depth. So we'll just do an overview. So the main thing, if I go back, lack of clarity. We just need to establish that first and foremost. You guys know about your why. You have to have a why for everything. You have to have a why for coming here. You have to have a why for basically every facet of your life. And you guys have heard about this on the internet, I'm sure. But you also have to have a why as to why you want to become a digital nomad. And a lot of people, does somebody want to volunteer why they want to become a digital nomad?
Sure. Yeah. Probably about 2 months ago or so, I had a stroke, and I decided after that I don't want to wait until I'm 65 and retired to enjoy traveling and seeing other cultures and things like that. So I'm going to do it now.
So I think that everybody would have some sort of similar sentence like that. Like, you all have a pretty good idea as to what prompted you to become a digital nomad, but I'm going to challenge you in an uncomfortable way to go a bit deeper. So to take your basic sentence as why you want to become a digital nomad, this is an exercise I learned from the top writer on Medium, Ben Hardy. And what about, I just put digital nomad here, but you can apply this to anything. So you ask yourself, what about being a digital nomad is important to you? And you can frame it however you want. So you just put your first sentence, your first reason, and then you're going to take that answer, like what about learning about other cultures is important to you? And then you're going to take the answer for that, and then what about meeting new people is important to you? And we're going to go 7 levels deep. And if you don't get to the 7th level, that's okay. But just try to find out, underneath it all, what is the real motivation? It's not just I want to travel. Okay. What about traveling is important to you? Traveling is important to me because my family didn't have any money growing up, and I used to read the encyclopedia about Egypt, and I wanted to see the world, to start to go from there. And so we'll just take a few minutes to do that. So everybody, I hope you have paper. I'll find you. And if you have any questions, just flag me down. It looks like most of you guys are done. Mark, can I ask you to volunteer one of your last answers for us to see if it changed at all from your original answer?
Yeah, I guess I just want to grow as a person.
Grow as a person?
Yeah, what's important about growing as a person. Yeah, I went from new experiences to learning to growth, to just to growing as a person.
And what about growing as a person is important to you in life? What does that mean?
It just means, to me, it means I just become a better person. I can maybe help other people do things.
Okay. So to starting with something like, was a health reason, when you go a few layers deeper, it actually became more about continuous self-improvement. Mm-hmm. And that being a digital nomad for you is tied to that concept, because it's like proof that you're taking action towards improving and changing your life. So these are the types of, just an example of some insights that you can get once you do this sort of exercise. Does anyone have any questions on this part? I might go up here because it's very bright. Okay. So just to summarize that part again, let's try not to fall off the stage. People fail because they don't have clarity on why they're actually doing this. Like, for some people, it might be to prove something to themselves or other people. They take the leap without a plan. They get stuck in I don't know, where sometimes I've met digital nomads. Even this year, I met hundreds of digital nomads. And I've heard people who've been traveling for the past 2 or 3 years, and they're just like not sure what to do next. And they haven't gotten out of that. So maybe 1 year everything was perfect, and then the next few years, they were just treading water. When they spend too much time traveling than working, again, as Johnny said, your income can plummet if you don't have the right structure. And deep down, after you do these sorts of like why exercises, and most people, including Tim Ferriss, who did the 4-hour work week, he works probably more than most people. The whole goal is not to just do nothing. It might seem that way at first, but that's typically not the route to fulfillment. So if you become like Tim Ferriss, who gets rich off of writing about working only 4 hours a week, you can see that he probably works more than 40 hours a week. And because once you're doing what you like to do, you don't necessarily want to quit working. And a lot of nomads who get passive income for months or years at a time, they start to lose their sense of self and their sense of purpose. And I know from living abroad and seeing all the bitter retired people at the bars, they have nothing to do but just drink all day, they're not happy. And then too spontaneous with plans. I was trying to interview a fellow digital nomad about an article that I'm writing, and she just didn't know where she was going to be at any given moment of any day. So it took a week to schedule a phone call. And she's like, I'm in a hostel, I'm at a music festival, blah, blah, blah. So she wasn't working that week. And then what I talked about yesterday a bit is being influenced too much by what other people are doing. If you're not following your path, you could get off path. And then we'll skip through some of these to save time, but quitting your job to pursue a project like a blog that's not monetized yet is a good way to run out of money. Being unorganized with finances in general. I think expense tracking, if you do it every day, when I track my expenses every day, I spend like 300% less than if I don't track it for months. So if you're aware of what's happening every day in your business and your personal spending, that's a good way to save money. And then issues with time management and productivity, and struggling with communicating with people in different time zones and just getting like the daily routine down. And then the personal reasons like being lonely, or like Johnny and I with our time lapse, spending too much time planning travel instead of working on our business or doing anything else. Not having a support system. And then I put drugs and alcohol and partying, because this is something that most people don't expect to get caught up in when they start the digital nomad lifestyle. But when all the people that you're hanging out with are on vacation or just passing through, this can end up being something that sneaks up on you. So you could end up waking up one day and not knowing why you feel depressed, and it's just because you've been drinking alcohol a lot. So this activity is a bit borrowed from Tim Ferriss. He has this thing called, I think it's called future casting, where you, like fear casting, where you write everything that could possibly go wrong. And I think it's very relevant to traveling, because with Murphy's Law, I mean, everything that you expect will go wrong and that you never considered could possibly go wrong will go wrong. So it's helpful to do this exercise, which will take a couple minutes to do, and just write down all of the things, like all of your weaknesses that you can think about and things that you struggle with. So, for example, I struggle when I don't have a routine and when I stay up too late. So if I'm in a time zone, if I'm working in a time zone where I have to work until 3 or 4 in the morning, that is like a downward spiral for me, because it affects what time I wake up. It affects everything, like your hormones, your weight. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you travel for business too often, you have like a 50% higher chance of having obesity or a high body mass index. So for me, staying up too late is a huge weakness, and I also struggle with when I travel too much. So I know that I can't go a different place every day or every week. And also with having a routine. So think of some of the things that you guys struggle with. Maybe you get lonely easily, so you need to be around other people, or maybe you kind of succumb to peer pressure, what everyone else is doing. So too many fun activities that aren't balanced out with self-care and work, and just do a little brainstorm. Does anyone want to share a weakness? Get vulnerable? I'll get both of you guys.
Focus, procrastination, and worry over my kids.
Okay, so something that could be helpful. Well, actually, I don't want to talk about that yet, because we're going to do that in the next exercise. Thank you for sharing.
Time management.
That's a huge one.
Well, I've been switching climates every week or 2 weeks for the past 4 years, and it's affected my body because I can't adapt to anyone pollen or anything. So I basically constantly have allergies that I can never fix, and I'm constantly plugged up, and I just can't. There's nothing I can do. Just stuff like that.
This is a very big one, and actually, traveling kills your immune system. Last year, I was in a different place every month, and I was sick for an entire year. As soon as I got better, I would get sick again, because I would change climates and then get run down. Very great answers, guys. Good job. Oh, and clicker. Okay, next. Oh, I was supposed to show you this. So here are some more examples. And actually, I can upload these slides as well, and I have them in PDF. So you guys can access these later. This was a good one I wanted to touch on, actually. Are you concerned what your family or other people think? I think family members tend to pressure a lot, so that can be a trigger for people as a weakness. My family asked me to help them with something for 1 month a couple years ago, and it ended up taking 6 months. So I just put my life on hold and did that, so that could be a trigger as well. So let's talk about what helps people. Why do people succeed in the lifestyle? These are the reasons that I've come up with through experience and through questionnaires with my clients and people who've been expats or nomads for at least 5 years. So having a strong why, which we already did, having a strong sense of self, being prepared but taking small steps. So when I look back at my personal trajectory, how did I get here? And I started slowly. I started with just traveling and trying a few new countries, never expecting to live in a certain place. Then I did 3 months in Costa Rica. studying abroad. Then I did 6 months in Australia. And then I did 1 year living in Costa Rica as a trial. And so I kind of took baby steps. And this doesn't mean that you can't just spontaneously evolve and go from 0 to 100 really quickly. But if you're feeling stressed out, just take a look back at how you got to where you are and ask yourself if maybe you're putting too much pressure on yourself and maybe you're going too fast. Again, slow travel. I think this is, if you guys have seen anything I posted online in my Facebook group and on YouTube, I talk a lot about slow travel because I think people are lying to themselves that they can be as productive as they are at home if they're traveling every week. Working a lot. I mean, unless you have a lot of passive income, I think if you're passionate about what you do and if you're staying on top of stuff, you probably are going to end up working full time, even if you're a nomad. Being fiscally responsible, being involved in the community, so not just the local community, but also the digital nomad community or whatever community means to you. Just finding some sort of local community or tribe is so important. Having a daily routine because human beings really succeed when we have consistency. Taking care of yourself that I think Camille talked about, going to the spa, do something good for yourself. And being flexible and open-minded and just resilient to when things go wrong. Just pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, and keep going. And sometimes you'll forget why you even got upset about something. And then go home sometimes, wherever home is. Maybe you don't need to go back to where you were born, but maybe you just need to make a home for a certain amount of time if you're feeling ungrounded. And just being appreciative and grateful for the lifestyle. I started a daily gratitude journal, which I'm sure many of you have heard about before, but it's amazing what just writing one sentence per day can do. And I love to look back. Has anyone heard of Workflowy? It's my #1 favorite app right now. If you want to write that down, it's not in the presentation. It's like your brain in an app, or like your brain in a to-do list. It's really cool. So you can actually expand the bullets, and I'll just go back and I can expand from the past year and find hundreds of things that I was grateful for. So if I'm having a bad day, I just look at that. And then as I mentioned yesterday with Corpo Man, you guys remember him, cultural integration as an expat. So just to say that you don't have to travel if you're a digital nomad. That doesn't define being a digital nomad, but if you do want to travel and you want to travel outside of your home country, just being aware that integrating once you get there is something that can help you succeed and feel good long term. The main reasons people succeed are having money, being open-minded, having a community or a tribe or some sort of support system, and being clear on what you're doing, why, and then keeping it top of mind so that if you do get into a funk, you have that self-awareness and kind of repetitive training that you can realize what's happening. And now, so we're going to do another activity where you look back at the weaknesses that you just wrote down, and now write like the antidote to the weakness. So if that bad thing happens that you've been worrying about, what are you going to do to fix it or prevent it or deal with it if it does happen? So when it does come up, if it does come up, you already are prepared with some sort of a strategy to cope. So for me, to give an example, to play off what Johnny was saying about the Nomad Cruise, on the last day of Nomad Cruise, I came down with the flu, which is a clear sign that I've been overdoing it. Too many people, too much drinking, not enough sleep, too much travel. So I came down with the flu for a week in Athens. And then I knew that I had to find a place to go get better. And that place was Bulgaria. I was like, I need to cancel all of the things that were causing these problems and do the opposite. So slow travel, go to a healthy place, be in nature, get my routine back, get my sleep back. And I feel 100 times better after 3 months of being in one spot. So how will you crush it? So how does this look? How does the formula for success look for the people who like charts and graphs? So you gotta have a mission. If you don't have a mission, you can't do anything else. Or you can, but it's just, you're gonna get confused at some point. So from your mission, now you know why you're doing this. Now you can start to create your plan. Now you can be aware of your mindset and know when things aren't feeling right and know how to diagnose them. Now you know how much funding you're going to need to get started and also to sustain yourself. You got to know what your income is from your business every month, and you need to match that with your relocation plan, right, guys? So that you're in a country, in a city that is contingent with your budget and your financial resources, and then you're going to track your expenses so that you don't run out of money. And then self-reflection. You can do this on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis, but I do it monthly, and I just recommend putting a reminder, like for the rest of your life, just put it in your phone to do your like quarterly or whenever your self-reflection is, and you can do this with your goals as well. Just again, keeping them top of mind, because can anyone relate to this where you set a goal and then you totally forget you had that goal, and 3 years later you find it on a piece of paper and you're like, oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah, so if you're not looking at it, then you might forget. So the next, we still have time. The next exercise is like a life design plan. So it's kind of taking those other things and compiling them together. And this is a very fun, creative exercise that you can't get into very deep in just a few minutes, but I think it's helpful to just look at the different categories of your life and decide what you want from those categories. Because why not? Like, if you have complete autonomy and authority over your life, you might as well just go for it. Like, shoot for the moon or whatever they say, because you can. There's nobody holding you back from massive success and satisfaction in every single category of your life. So just some examples: love, health, money, career, family and friends, spiritual, educational, and recreational. And there's also other categories that I couldn't fit on this slide, but these are just some examples to get you started. So in workflowy, and I practice what I preach, guys. So in workflowy, what I have is all the life categories I can think of. And I put a bullet for each one. And then at the beginning of the month, I just set some goals in each category. And sometimes it's like an annual goal. It's not something that I'm going to start over every month. And then at the end of the month, or as the month goes along, whenever I do something that seems notable, I just put it down in that category. And then at the end of the month, I look at it and I see how much progress I've made. And this does two things. It can actually make you feel like it can show you the progress that you're making in life, even when you feel stuck. So has anyone ever lost weight and you're losing 5 or 10 pounds per month, but you look in the mirror and you still think you look the same? Has anyone ever felt like that? No? Okay. So if you take photos, you can see your progress on a weekly or a monthly basis of your weight loss, or toning your muscles, for example. And you can do this in business and life as well. So you might feel like you haven't accomplished anything at work for that month, and then you look at your list of goals and you're like, oh wow, I actually did accomplish a lot more than I thought, and then you can feel better about what you're doing. The other thing it can do is highlight glaring omissions in your attention. So I'm really just beating up on myself today. Okay, an example for me with love, for example, let's start over there. So I noticed 6 months into this year that I wasn't really spending much time intentionally trying to do anything in this arena. I was focused on business, I was focused on health, I was focused on travel and friends and family and all sorts of things, but this was blank every month. Okay, well maybe I should try to go on a date. And then I did, because I actually realized, wow, it's been 6 months since I even went out with somebody, so I should do that. And and then it's been fine since then. So, and also with family, you can notice if you've been how many people have been a digital nomad for like more than 3 years? Do you have any old? Okay. How about 1 year? Any 1 year? Okay. Do you ever notice that you sometimes can go an extended period of time without talking to your family members or your close home friends? Yes. Okay. So I also put family on this category because you can kind of hold yourself accountable to talk to a family member whenever is appropriate for you. Maybe it's once a week, maybe it's once a month, and you might be meeting a lot of new people out on the road, but your family members and your childhood friends know you the best. So if you go a year without talking to anyone from home because you've been traveling, it might contribute to that feeling of being lost in the world. So these are just some examples of how this can help you. So we'll just take a couple minutes and just write down in a couple categories, just a couple of goals or objectives that you might have, things that are important for you. Like maybe for money, your goal is making $10,000 a month. Maybe for career, it's launching a new business or a new project by a certain date. Of course, you want your goals to be actionable and measurable. And for spiritual, maybe you want to meditate every morning, something like that. So just do a few categories and I'll give you guys a couple minutes. Okie dokie. So, does anyone have any questions so far based on those 3 activities? Was that helpful for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So let's sum it up. What are the main reasons people fail? Lack of money, cultural inflexibility, loneliness, and lack of clarity. And what are the reasons that people succeed? They have consistent revenue sources. They keep an open mind. They have a tribe. And they have a system in place for personal accountability on their why, on their plan, how often they're going to reflect on their situation, and then they course correct along the way. Because I'm sure everyone's heard this metaphor with the airplane that pilots correct every 1 degree or something like that. I don't know the exact stats, but if they didn't course correct, they would end up like hundreds of miles from their destination. So if you guys don't course correct, you're going to end up literally and figuratively in the wrong place, in the wrong country, with the wrong people, and you don't want that. So again, this is just how you can thrive, really drive it home. You can do all the exercises we did, know your why. I recommend doing that in a quiet space at home and just really getting vulnerable with yourself. Remember to keep your finances in check because being a digital nomad is basically a business, whether you're a remote worker or whether you own your own business. And go back to that life design plan and just get creative and fill it out. Make it like a bucket list for your life because you can, because you're digital nomads now, or you're going to be. Even if you're not a digital nomad, you can still do that. And review your goals, find your community. I actually wrote a blog on like the top places for digital nomads to find their tribe. So that's on my website if you want to look it up. And remain flexible and open-minded. And down here so I can read. Because one is content with oneself, he doesn't need others' approval. And because one accepts oneself, the whole world accepts him or her. So if you don't feel like you're accepted in your choice of a location-independent lifestyle, it only matters that you accept what you're doing. And I have just a couple of funny quotes. I think they're funny. Because I have surveyed my clients as to what helped them succeed long-term. So I'll just read a few of the things that are from my survey. People say things like, keep your work as a priority. Realize that there's no end of the road. It's just a road. Stop thinking about when you're going to get there. You are there. Honestly, enjoy it. A lot about money. People saying things like, make sure you have enough money. Stay curious about your surroundings. So always being like grateful, curious, even if you've been to over 50 countries or 100 countries, just always seeing it with new eyes. Have good work ethic, know your limitations, design your business to work around your lifestyle, be comfortable making sacrifices, be comfortable being different, be creative in how you support yourself, network like crazy, know it's going to cost you a lot more money than you expect, be easygoing and flexible, keep everything in perspective. Don't get caught up in minor stuff like, missing flights or somebody said something to you. Just take it with a grain of salt. This person, I think, this was someone living in Costa Rica. She said, if you are running away from something, you might not find what you're looking for. But if you're going out there with an open mind and you just have a new life experience, you might find things that you never expected. So I thought that was very good. And someone else says, leave your expectations at home. And then my favorite, pack a spare roll of toilet paper. Just kidding, but seriously, because there's no good toilet paper in other countries sometimes. It's hard to find. That wasn't me, by the way. And actually I have a lot of the tips in a 2-page PDF with a lot of the quotes, so I'll upload that for Nomad Summit as well, so you guys can keep it. Next steps, just action steps from here. Make sure you have a regular routine. Make sure you have a structure. That's regardless of if you're a digital nomad or not, but it's like 200 times more important if you're working for yourself and especially if you're traveling. And put your dates for self-reflection and analysis in your calendar. We all have iPhones or smartphones, so just put up a recurring reminder for that. And I invite you guys to join my Facebook group, which is all focused on how to sustain this lifestyle long term. That's my jam, and it's called Long-Term Digital Nomad Success. And this is me with a lot of makeup on and my social media. So thank you guys. I hope that this was helpful, and come up and find me afterwards if you have more questions, or feel free to send me a message.